How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with yet another review. A little bit of lager, a little bit of hopped up, I believe, lager time in the form of Stone Brewing. It is their Tropic Thunder. This is a lager, and it comes in 5.8% alcohol by volume, and this comes courtesy of Stone. Thank you very much. Stone, it's been a bit since they sent me a beer. They sent me a beer a couple of years ago, a year or so ago, and, wasn't a big fan of the beer, and then beer stopped. Ooh. Probably didn't like what I had to say about the beer. Didn't hate it. I forget what it was. I was there, Pure Russian Stout or something like that. Just didn't do it for me. But it's been a while. Then kind of reached out again. And they're like, hey, can we send you some beer? And I'm like, yeah, sure, you already did, but whatever. Anyway, we're going to dive into soccer because, listen, it's 85 degrees outside. I want a lager. And, yeah, I mean, the thought of a kind of tropical fruit-laden, hop-forward lager is kind of appealing, but at the same time, you're talking about Stone here, who can't get out of their way sometimes when it comes to over-hopping stuff, so I'm kind of curious about it. Anyway, this was canned in 3.5, so you're talking about this being almost 4 months old. It's come straight from the brewery, so they are telling me that's kind of weird, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, that's kind of odd. So let's talk about that for a second, kind of backtrack. I didn't even look at the date in the bottom. It actually says can 3/5/19. They actually sent this to me, and I got it about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. So let's say this is the 1st of August. Let's say I received this in the mail I got it right before the guys from came down for Beer Tube Palooza. So let's say I got it on the 14th for the sake of conversation. This is best by, or should be enjoyed by, 7/3. So I received it almost 2 weeks after they say you should drink it by, which is really weird for a brewery to do. Anyway, we'll dive into it regardless. On the back here, just story time, because Stone can't not do that. They basically talk about they're doing a lager, and they want to put different hops in it, and it's Citra and Cashmere look to be the bits and pieces that are involved in it. Done and done. So you got a little stovepipe action. Lager makes sense. 6% lager, so maybe a touch higher than you'd typically expect. But yeah, that's kind of a bummer about those dates, man. You figure a brewery would kind of be on top of that stuff, but we'll see what's what. So throw that over there. Throw this in a big lager glass. Actually, throw this over here so you can see the label. I mean, it's just, if you hold that, it still kind of has that Stone kind of font going on, but it's Stone through and through as far as their kind of art design and all that stuff goes. Not a negative. I always dig their art design, and their bottles have always tickled me pink because they're one of the few breweries that still does screen printing on bottles. Anyway, I mean, that looks like a lager. I mean, if I kind of poured this a couple more times, I would get that slow pour, big head on it. I mean, kind of weird, kind of soft creaminess in the center, but there's really nice, rocky, pillowy edges that you'd expect with a lager, with a very, very, very gentle, soft, magnifying glass clear kind of lager color, that rich kind of yellow. I mean, she is not going to be confused with much other than a lager. Let's see if we get a nose. I mean, she smells nice. I mean, there's not a big, huge, lager sulfury pop on it, but you kind of get lager vibes. But what really does stand out is that tropical fruit. It's still there. There is this soft fleshiness. It comes off very much like a grapefruit flesh to me. If you're a breakfast in the 80s kind of person, when I was a kid, one of the mainstays for breakfast was, a little bit of sugar on top of a grapefruit, and you cut out those little individual slices of the half of the grapefruit, and you spoon them out, and every now and then you get a spritz in the air of that kind of grapefruit, slightly sweetened kind of grapefruit. That's the kind of vibe you're getting in here, and it's quite nice. And you're talking about a 5.8% beer that is, past its best by date as far as they're concerned, and it still comes off relatively vibrant, relatively expressive in that tropical sense. Is quite nice. Here's the thing, though. You're talking about, being past its best by date. It's 4 months. Are they giving it here? 3 to 7? Yeah, 4 months. So it's an aggressive best by date, but, I don't know if this would be a great one fresh, because it's got that kind of vibrance in its tropical fruitiness from those hops. Exactly kind of where I want it to be. I think if it was a little bit more expressive, it might overpower the beer. So it might be a good thing that it has a little bit of time on it. I don't know. Let's dive in. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, it honestly, it tastes exactly what you would think it tastes like based off of who is making it and the kind of beer it is. There's soft lager vibes, very soft lager vibes. It's more Kolsch than anything else. Sitting here, I couldn't tell you, oh, that's definitely a lager. Yeah, subtle lager vibes. That's pretty much it. Might be power of suggestion, but there's this cleanliness to it, this crispness to it, this chuggability to it. So it definitely has that kind of going for it when it comes to lager. Those hops are very expressive. They get a little bit kind of citrus cleanery in their impact, but not too bad. It doesn't get too like uncomfortable or anything like that. But it works. I think it is a kind of a well done, impactful kind of summer crusher. It brings a little bit more to the table than your typical just base lager, but it doesn't get to the point where you're like, okay, this is just a IPL, like an India Pale Ale or something like that, or India Pale Lager. It still retains those lager qualities as far as crispness and cleanliness, while giving an expressive hop that is bright, sprightly, drinkable, but it doesn't weigh super heavy on the palate. It's there, and it lingers, but it doesn't weigh too heavily. And honestly, this stovepipe can is not going to stick around pretty long. It's going to be an easy chugger. Let's put it like that. That's pretty much it. Big, expressive citrus leading hops. You're talking about grapefruit, gobs of grapefruit, pineapple, stuff like that. Grapefruit leading the way. Soft lager vibes, crisp cleanliness to the beer. Done and done. Let's talk about it. It's one of the better lagers I've had as of late. It's worthy of being in a conversation. It's not the best. I like mine to be traditional. So even when I go outside of that traditional realm, I do like them to skew a little bit super new school. This being how citrus forward it is, and it does have that slight, I don't want to say synthetic, but it gets airs towards a little bit of that cleaner vibes. It's a little bit too, that citrus is a little bit bigger than where I'd like it to be for lager. So like I said, it might be a good thing that this beer has a little bit of time on it, but nonetheless, I think a lot of people dig this, especially if you like the expressive kind of citrus forward hops in your beers. This is definitely going to do you proper. Value availability, it's stone. Chances are this can be found, probably the stone pipes you can probably find individually for probably less than $2 a can. That's kind of how they roll. Availability, it's stone. You pretty much get it everywhere. And leave you with, if you like what will you like this beer, if you like lager, but you also like big citrus leaning hops in your beer, that's kind of what it's going to give you. Let's put it this way. It's not like I drink a ton of stone, but every now and then they really do a beer that I really, 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 really like. And sometimes they do ones that I really, really, really don't like. And rarely is there one that falls in the middle. I'm not saying this one's in the middle, but it's floating somewhere in between those two. It's not necessarily, it's good, it's tasty, it's nice. If I was at a party or a barbecue, someone had a couple of these, I'd drink a couple. But it's not something I'm going to go out, personally myself, I'm going to go out my way and kind of track down. But it's one of the better examples of a crushable, expressive beer. And like I said, it kind of makes sense because it's Stone. They like their hops. They like to mess with them. So you're talking about a lager, a hopped up lager from Stone. It's kind of right where you expect it to be. So if you're on that level, you'll dig this. There you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing that social media stuff. Beer Massive if you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a nice little, like a tropical thunder lager right now. And hope to see you next time. Cheers.